Hello, people. Hope you're all well fed after lunch. And let's talk about the money indeed. And I think, talking about money, we can do this endlessly, but I really want, like, this panel today to be more of an immersive experience. So what we're gonna do now, we have three experts, and the person who we all gonna grill today, so that's Illia. You'll get to this, like his game is there on the show floor, you can play it later on. What gonna happen that Lyosha, who is I think, quite successful indie developer, you won 4, 5 awards last year here in Lithuania, like for Lithuanian Game Awards. 4. Just 4, yeah. So like he experienced indie, he gonna pitch today, like to showcase how masters do that. Illia, well, he will be very successful indie developer sometime later with time. So, and that's who we gonna grill today all together. And Alex and Vytautas, they're experts, and now I will introduce them. We'll have a short conversation, and then we'll get to the pitches, and then we will try to grill Illia so his pitch evolves with the idea that by the end of the session, he gets either money from Vytautas or from Alex. I didn't tell them that's the goal.
Yeah, I didn't sign up for this shit.
Well, that's the goal, but we don't necessarily get to it. Cool. But Alex, you're holding the mic. Let's actually start from you. You are a very successful and important, and everybody knows you. Your perspective on indies, like how do you personally and your company work with indies? Like, do you publish them? Do you give them money? Do you just invite them, I don't know, somewhere? What do you do?
Well, all of the above, right? So the way we work with development teams is through publishing, right? Up until a couple of years ago, it was mostly third parties. So we would, find a game developer or a game team would reach out to us. We would give them some funding and help get the game to release. As of a couple of years ago, it's become a lot of mixed internal and external development.
Yeah.
So we have 13 internal studios right now, about 500-ish people. But that still means that we still do external development as well. And then we'll often do code development, and as of recently, we'll start investing into equity. So it's kind of like a mix of publishing, development, funding, and equity investment. And there's no like one way to go about. It's all unique at this point.
I have a very stupid question. Why there is no one way?
Because it's a people-driven business, and people are very different.
But, let me please push on this. Like, what do you personally prefer to do? Like, which way? Like, project, investment, publishing, company, or like what?
It really depends, right? So, like, for example, for multiplayer games that need support later on, we learned the hard way that just plain publishing does not work. Because the incentives between the development team and the publisher are misaligned beyond launching the original title.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because you need to have a long-term support plan for it.
Cool.
So in that regard, like, publishing for multiplayer, especially games as service, just doesn't work. So there needs to be another component to that.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Vytautas, now to you. So you give money to teams? How do you function?
Yes, actually, we consider both investment ways. Investment into equity and investment into projects, like revenue sharing scheme. I would say we would prefer the second way more.
Projects.
Yes. And for most indie teams, that is what they like,
So I want to learn more. Like, so why? Well, first, like, as a venture person, it makes sense. From what I say, as a venture person, it makes sense to invest into the company, not into the project. So like, why project is something that you prefer?
For us, it's a more clear exit option, you know.
Why? Explain me. I mean, I'm not getting it.
It's our investment strategy.
Right.
We are investing into revenue share, not in raising the value of the company and equity of it.
Okay, so you earn money quicker when you invest into the project.
Yeah, we would prefer a shorter period of.
Okay, cool. I want a very short pitch of like, so what's your ideal investee? Like, who do you invest in ideally?
What we are looking for, we focus on PC and console games, on teams making these games. The budget would be up to 1 million.
Yeah.
Our average.
Wait, 1 million, that's your investment?
No, this is I'll explain, yeah. So the budget would be up to 1 million. We would prefer to invest from 100K to 500K euros. Yeah, and we consider ourselves as a financial investor. And we look for partnership with publishers. So if there would be a larger project than our ticket, of course, we would cooperate either with other co-investor or preferably publisher.
Okay, so people come to you when they have a prototype, and probably you're like the first institution to give them money, so that they have a better prototype to find the publisher later on.
Yeah, usually,
Did I get you right?
yeah, they want to prepare either vertical slice, either, yeah.
Okay, so usually, like, from what I get, like, people get to you, you give them money, then they go to Alex.
Yes, it could be an option.
Alex, does it make sense? This logic?
Well, it makes sense. Like, to be honest, we don't care how the studio was funded up until the point that we can collaborate with them, right? So often it's friends and family. If it was a VC, that's fine. We also even a few times bought out national investment funds like the London Games Fund or the Canadian Entertainment Fund.
Cool. Alexei? Yes.
Also, sometimes it happens that publishers approaches to us and and they say we have interesting option, you know, but maybe we want to leverage our financial risk or also attract co-investor. Would you be interested to join that deal we are considering?
So
it can
you
be
invest,
both.
like you collaborate with other investors sometimes.
Pardon?
You collaborate with other investors.
Yes.
You invite others to invest, to co-invest.
But it's the typical practice as well, yeah.
Great, you help to attract money. Perfect. Lyosha, back to you. Not back to you, but like now to you. How do you fund yourself and your games?
Well, we used to be a self-published and self-funded studio for like 10 years, maybe more. And it was the only option back then. So then it was Flash. The cost
you're
was
that old.
quite low, and you can develop whatever years.
Yeah.
Right now, games are more, difficult, more expensive, and the funding is the essential part of the business. So you need to find money somewhere. And these options like funds and publishers are definitely one of the most interesting for developers to work with.
Yeah, but so I mean, I'm gonna push on you here. So like, how does it work for you in practice? As in, so you have been around in this industry for a while. You have ongoing projects that they give you that provide like revenue for you to develop new games, and you still need external funds. Did I understand it right?
It depends on the project. It's always a matter of negotiation. It's always it's always starts from the scratch on every new project, and the situation changes. And we see that right now. This year changed dramatically from the previous one or previous two, and so I can't answer the question that easily. We need to discuss exact case. And
well, let's discuss exact case.
It is under NDA, man. So
let's discuss exact case. I mean, like, it's just a small team, like we're in the biggest hall, but like nobody's listening. It's fine. Nobody gonna know. So, can you provide an example when you had to raise money and why?
You see, 1 year ago, we've been in quite difficult negotiation process. It took like 6 months of of going here and there, and the agreement was quite tough, and the agreement was located in UK, and the price of UK lawyers is quite high, and it's definitely, you know, exhausting for the studio to participate in such. So it happens, and in the end of the day, we agreed to stop negotiations because we have stuck.
Yeah.
And it's definitely something you should be ready for too, because yeah, six months of your life, a lot of money, and nothing in the end. It's regular.
Great. So what I have heard, and like, please correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying that like to develop new and bigger games, sometimes you have to attract money, and you attract this to projects, not into the investment and in your company. Did I hear you right?
I'm not sure. Come again, in other words.
So when you need additional funds, do you attract money like per project, or you just like issue shares of your legal entity, and that's like how you fund?
No, we haven't done equity investment so far, and I think it's much more intimate process. It's more like, you know, marriage. You need to be sure in each other.
So per project.
Per project.
Per project. Ilya, now to you. Now like all the spotlight onto you. You're the youngest and the less experienced here. So and now you need money. So what is your thinking? Do you want to attract money into the company or into the project? Like, are you selling the game or the vision where your company gonna grow?
So in our case, we are actually raising money with equity, so into our company. Not
So you want to marry somebody?
Yes, because we understand that great support on the beginning of this way, on the beginning of our studio, is very important to realize all our ideas in the future. So we are right now considering preferring, let's say, investment in the equity, and then maybe in the future, when we will need some additional funds to some new projects, it could be project investment.
Okay. Alex, can I actually ask like your advice and ideas? When do you think it makes sense to attract money, like as Lyosha, like per project, and when does it make more sense to invest in, like to attract money with equity into the company?
Well, first off, the idea of marrying someone with equity investment is a really fun one when you realize that you then do round A, B, C, D, E, F. You know, so when you have raised several rounds, and that's a really interesting family that you have there. You know, like you can do a lot of chores and delegate them around the house, I guess. But it really depends, right? If the team is like has a lot of clout around them, if there is a lot of background, experience, or well-known names in the industry, it might actually make sense to go for equity investment from the get-go. To get seed funding and not worry about tomorrow, because you know that you have 3 or 4 years of funding to get your project out there. If you don't have that, if you don't have a well-known IP, then per project-based investment, like we do, like every other publisher out there, it might be an easier and more straightforward route. But I think it really depends on the composition of the founding team, because going with a publisher is going to be much easier than going with a VC fund. And because the amount of, like Alexei said, with the amount of due diligence and work that goes into legal process, it can be daunting. Like when we were raising our seed fund, we were like, oh, we have this one folder with all of our invoices, nothing is marked, lots of stuff missing, like licenses expired and whatnot. It's a lot of due diligence, but those comes with discipline. So it really depends on the end goal, and if you have someone in your team, like an operational director or a lead producer, project manager that can handle that. So there is no one way to go about. Like for us, we, since it's a publishing business, it made sense to raise capital. And we tried. We tried in 2011 and 2012 and 2013, 2014, and we ended up raising only in 2017. So
Wait,
I was...
Let it count, like how many years?
Yeah, like it took over 5 years. I was running around Silicon Valley, literally knocking on Sequoia Capital's door. They don't like that, don't do that. And they were like, like at one point it was like, oh, you need to be a social media platform thing. Like the keyword was platform, right? Oh, then you need to be free to play mobile gaming. Like, you're saying they're trying to pitch a business where, okay, we're going to build games for the premium segment. We're going to then make cartoons out of them and sequels and all of this fun stuff. And then the question is, what is your RPPU? Like, thank you for your time.
And how much were you raising at the time, if not a secret?
So we ended up raising just under 4 million.
4 million, yeah.
But at that point, I started out with 200K checks.
Yeah.
Like, that turned out to be too little for VC funds because of the overhead. Then, the sweet asking spot was between 2 and 5. And the thing is that by that point that we did raise, we already had a lot of revenue. So we raised at a close to 60 million valuation.
60
so
million
we were
valuation,
very profitable at that point. We had like over 50% of profit margin, and we just reinvested back into growth.
Okay, now I have a stupidest question ever. If you're profitable, like if you're growing, why was it hard to raise investment? I mean, it's easy for like a money person, and like Vytautas can comment maybe here. Like, I mean, he shows like, hey, we're profitable, we're growing, like give us more money so we're gonna grow faster. It's easy.
So our situation was a little bit different. So first off, we weren't in the trend, right? Right now, premium games are in trend. Everyone knows PC and console. Second, we had options to raise what's called bad money. So money that would eventually, considering the events of last year, would ended up getting freezed, right? So we didn't want to close doors for future capital investment, and we also knew that we had to be extremely transparent because we wanted to go IPO. So we just had to make sure 100% that whatever shareholders we get on board would be on board with the ultimate goal.
Okay, so vision again, right. Let me recap, and the next question I'm gonna have, let's recap fast. So what we have figured out now, that investing into equity, like when the company issues shares and then you sell part of the company to investors instead of selling the project, but that basically you're gonna get these investors for a while, if not forever, together with you, helping you run the company, which is hard, but that's what Illia wants for his future. So, but the question I have for you now, what is the downside of raising money per project, like as a publishing deal? Who wants to take it first? Alexei, Lyosha, you're raising usually per project. What is the downside? Why is it a bad deal?
There is a tricky moment of time, then one project is over and another one is just starting. And if you're not ready for this gap, well...
You have to lay off people.
Yeah, it's difficult time. So you need to, or you need to find some other source of funding. So you should be prepared for this situation. Between two projects, or you need to have several ongoing projects simultaneously. That it's definitely not a really good thing for publishers and investors. Then it's a kinder red flag, and they see several
operations,
ongoing projects. Yeah. Otherwise, I think project investment is quite good for developer. You are still owning IP. You are still controlling the creative process.
But are you?
It depends on the agreement, man.
Okay, cool. Vytautas, can we pass on to you, and then like we'll get to the pitching part. So if it's like whatever you can say without NDA, what is the process? Do you want IP when you invest in a project? Like what are you suggesting? Just the money, or like what do you want to get back? Since I mean, if it's not equity, it's per project, it's revenue share. It's like what do you get?
No, actually, we are not looking for IP. But as I mentioned, we could consider investment into equity because it's also one of the ways, let's say, to realize that the deal, if you want to have revenue sharing scheme, let's say you can establish joint venture where you will put capital in, and developer would put IP, and you would agree on a specific period of cooperation, like in project investment. And in the end, you can also sign to the right to buy out for, let's say, €1, that all the equity and the IP. So it could be as it's so-called special purpose vehicle, so it could be an option, but as already Lyosha and Alex told, maybe contract is a more flexible way to do that. It costs less and in time and in funds. So.
Great. So let me summarize this part, and then we'll get to the pitching part. So as a game developer, you can raise money per project / publishing part. You can raise money into the company. And what have I missed? Like, are there any other ways to fund yourself? Public funds? Something else?
Yeah, well, I mean, many people may know that we actually raised our first pre-seed round on Kickstarter way back in 2011.
Okay.
You can do game pre-sales. That's how we funded some of our games, just by selling early access outside of Steam before early access was a thing.
So you can ask money from Vytautas, you can ask money from Alex, you can ask money from your future players.
But they're not mutually exclusive. That's the beauty of it, right? You can show that your game has traction through social media, right? Through crowdfunding, through just donations and whatnot. And you can use that as a KPI, a data point, saying that, hey, if we have more resources, we're going to be able to deliver more. And we have a consumer base that is going to be happy to give us more money. So when considering this, none of these are mutually exclusive, right? Like I said, it's totally fine for someone to raise friends and family funds, right? To have a non-profile investor be involved, and then someone like us comes in and maybe buys them out, right? Because what we want to do is make sure that the game gets done and then gets updated.
So as an indie game developer, you have to figure out how to make a great game, how to raise money from Vytautas, how to raise money from Alex, how to raise money from your future players, how to market it, how to show traction, and while you're all doom and gloom and understand like that's how hard it is for indies, let's actually make an example out of Lyosha. Lyosha, can you take the mic and show us how do you pitch a game? Can you pitch us like a game?
Well,
just like, why not?
Right now, if we want to raise money, it's always a matter of the team, because when we're talking about some new project, first of all, our partners want to know, are you physically capable to ship, to deliver the project? So first of all, you need to prove that you have shipped something before, or you are capable to. And what you need to do is to show that your team is quite experienced. Like, look, this guy has already worked in Blizzard for 10 years, and right now he's a part of our indie team, and we're gonna make some, I don't know, strategy like Warcraft, or we're gonna make our Overwatch style game, and maybe something looter style Overwatch to follow the trends. And our team is both capable and not that expensive, so the fund is in line with your partner's plans to fund your team. So it's always important, I don't know, to Google a little bit about the fund or portfolio of the publisher, and not to go to, I don't know, paradox with your Overwatch game, right? If it's not Forex strategy. So you need to work a little bit. You need to make research before start your pitching, and you need to show your team, you need to show your expertise, your credibility. And after that, let's talk about the project. Let's show our plan and show that we know what to do, and we know what the pre-production would be about, what goals should be achieved there, what questions should be answered, and what experiments should be done, and after that, let's show quite adequate period of production with nice, clear goals and expenses and costs, and don't make it that costly, but still keep a little more air for for mistakes or for R&D here and there. Like 20% is okay, and in the end of the day, the whole cycle shouldn't be longer than, I don't know, 3 years, because it's quite difficult to make game in 1 year right now. I think Alex would say like it's impossible, man. It's bullshit. But still, if you will pitch something that will last for 4 years, well, nobody knows how we're gonna still be here after 4 years. So yeah, the amount of time should be about 2 years, to my experience, and the size of the team should be adequate to finish the game in that time. So that's the main pillars I want to highlight for pitching.
Team, like you sell the team, you sell the team as in like capabilities of the team, the credibility of the team. You show the project process, as in like you describe it, then
Okay.
And the time frame. But what about the time to market? The way to market?
In pitch deck, there are some certain questions you need to answer. How much money you are asking, and how much time it will take. Who are the team? What is the project? How it looks like? You need to show MVP right now. It's impossible, to just come and say, "Wow, I like ponies, and my game would be about ponies." No, you need to show something playable, definitely, especially if you are asking some hundreds of thousands. And at a certain point, the documentation should appear. I mean, documentation, the production plan, the pitch deck with screenshots, with maybe video, there's some links to playable builds, and production plan, your team members, including the cost for team members. So it's the plan of how you're gonna spend money, and this documentation should be good.
Okay, Vytautas, do you have a comment on that? Did he miss anything that you like seeing on the slides?
Actually, a very good thought was in today. There was a session of Nathan from Xsolla, and he told how to prepare for a good pitch. And I took one brilliant explanation. Actually, what we usually look for. He put it very precisely. We look for the team who understands the needs of their target audience, for whom they are creating the game and why they should play that game. And second thing, that this team can deliver that game. I guess these are the most important things. Yeah.
Illia, we forgot about you for this moment. So like, what is going on in your head? Like, do you feel that after the discussion, that's how you functioned, or did you learn something new?
Yeah, I'm actually feeling like I will break few rules with my pitch, and I think the first one will be about targeting the right investor, because I will mostly pitch mobile game, and it's an important point because here is the most investors are looking for the PC consoles, and also just think about the equity funding. But generally, yes, it sounds like a very valuable comments.
Right. So which one was like, pick one that you didn't think about before? What you have heard now? Something new. Like, what was new to you? One thing that was new to you after the, like, what you learned from the discussion?
I think point about the team is not new, but it's very important, I think. But what was really new is actually the thing that none of the guys are really so deeply interested in investing in equity. So it's mostly speaking about project funding. Yeah.
But so
maybe we should retard it.
let's get your presentation on the screen. Do we have anybody by the computer? Do you need a clicker? Do you have a clicker? How does it work?
I think it's...
Yeah. So let's get your clicker. And it's unfortunately we'll have to break our necks, but let's break the necks to see.
I think I can
screen,
just
please.
stand.
Or yeah.
Okay, so I think I can start. Today I'm pitching to you the Evolute, and Evolute is actually indie game studio, and our goal is to guide player through a series of interconnected games, starting from the simple and moving to the more complex mechanics, more complex gameplay, more complex setting. In all these games, player will be able to reuse his items, reuse firstly his experience from previous games, and with every game we want to go to the proven markets, but introduce some new approaches to improve the gaming experience. How it actually will look like. So our first game will be mobile with in hybrid casual segment. So it's really simple addictive mechanics when you just start as an atom. And going through all these games, gaining some new experiences, gaining some new resources, it will lead to something much more complex, even to some MMORPG where you can come with the same resources that you started at the very beginning. But you can still start from the blank page. Okay, and now I will focus mostly on the first game, because that's what we are working right now, that's what we are raising to. Our first game, called Gravitation.io, it's a multiplayer mobile game. It's referencing .io gameplay such as Agar.io, Survivor.io, and built around the gravitation mechanic. And I have a short trailer of the prototype. Maybe it made sound. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, as you can see, it's in pixel art. It's really similar to Agar.io. You floating in the space. There are a lot of resources around you. You can consume them, grow bigger, upgrade some new skills, and just play with surrounding, defend against some mobs and stuff like that. The point is that resources and gravitation mechanics, that resources can be used in different ways. So you can just defend with them, or have them as a shield on your orbit. You can use them as ammunition any way you want, or you can just consume them. There is different branches of your evolution. So it's you can be more tanky, you can be more like a damage dealer, more agile thief, or things like that. Yep, that's actually how gameplay looks like. And in metagame, we have a pretty similar story to the hybrid casual games. So you have the skill branches when you can learn something new, upgrade your skills. And here's the equip screen where you can have multiple items, multiple strategies. Yeah. So that was the trailer. Actually, going to the market. Here's the market for the first game, for the Gravitation.io. We targeted mobile, as I said. Our service addressable market is hybrid casual segment, which is really growing. For the last year, it grew up to 40%. And we are aiming to gain the 2% of this market, which is around 30 billions. Our competitors is popular titles from hybrid casual. It's Archero, Survivor.io, Panball, more new, it's Mighty Doom. And actually we are planning to reuse their approach with the PvP mode, with the PvP story, which is really engaging for player. But all these games has one problem with the retention, because after a month or two, your single player become too boring. So you're playing this mechanic, but it's really casual, so after months you just get bored of the single-player story, and that's why we are planning to release multiplayer on the later stage of the game. So we are playing single-player story, and then the players who really attracted to their character, who already put a lot of time to this, can just reuse all that in a PvP. Our business model for the games itself are pretty simple. It's free to play. We'll be monetizing through advertisement and game purchases. But in the long-term period, we are looking to this more like some kind of ecosystem, because as I told you, there will be multiple games where you can reuse your experience, and that's why we targeting in long-term more the secondary market. This is our team and what we're actually doing. So in Evolute, we have two co-founders, it's me and my colleague Daniel. I have background as a developer. I was a Ubisoft employee. I think I had like 2 years of entrepreneurship before, where we built Asylum, and there where we actually met with Daniel. So we worked on this metaverse platform. Actually deployed successfully MVP, closed few grants, so it was a very nice journey, but like half a year ago decided to start a Evolute studio, found the initial core team of 5 members. Our next step was we gone through a DevGAMM program. Thanks, Ollie, it was like a really great program. And yeah, built the base prototype there and improved it for last 2 months. And right now, this month, we are planning to go to the tech launch, our first tech launch in App Store, Google Play, and get the first numbers from our game. And actually looking for the pre-seed. So pre-seed round, we need to complete our first game to get more, I hope, get more expertise from the VC, because that's what we really need to more deeper understanding connections inside this market. And our budget is calculated for the production of the gravitational tires. So our target is to raise 300K. We have like more detailed split breakdown of this investment into chunks. Most of the part of these investments are going to the multiplayer that will be developed closer to the end. And first of all, we'll develop like this PvP basic story. So yeah, actually, that was my pitch. Thank you for your time.
I'm feeling like the proud dad because, I mean, as Illia mentioned, like he's a graduate of Gamedev camp, and yeah, it's amazing. But shall you people grill Illia now? Like what you did and did not like?
Oh, we just want you to spin around in your chair now.
Yeah.
No. Okay, you want to stand up or?
Yeah.
Because I think it will be useful to go back and forth on the slides, right?
Yeah, makes sense. I agree with you.
All right, so can you go back to the team slide, please?
Sure. Like
yeah.
here.
So here, this is a little bit confusing, right? In terms of achievements, because one thing that you just did is you mentioned that you work on Metaverse in 2020, which can be both good and bad, because on one hand, there will be a lot of investors. Oh yeah, I remember money in the Metaverse. On the other hand, you'll make everyone facepalm who realize that that wasn't. So maybe think about dropping specific keywords, but then the achievements are really confusing, right? So getting partnerships and people on the team, getting 1K on Twitter and getting deployed MVP, those don't sound necessarily like achievement. It sounds like you did work, which is good, right? So maybe reframe the slide of like successfully launched X, right? Because like we talked about before, the part that investors look for is launched products, right? So confidence in the ability to launch products. And then you also, I think it's really, really important that you have your last names here with your Twitter handles and with your everything.
Actually, it's just in the end of the deck, I decided to just keep it like the contact section. Yeah.
Right, okay. And the other thing that I was immediately like looking for on the budget slide, if you go to the end, I was looking for current burn rates. Because you're asking for something, right? Like there's no information on how you're currently funded, what your current burn is, and like a more detailed spreadsheet of like where the money is going to, what the current operations are.
So actually, there's like a link
There's a
on
hidden
this
link
slide. Yeah,
that
because
the audience can't see.
yeah, but we decided to not include into the deck the detailed breakdown because it could be a bit heavy for the slides. But obviously, with investor, we free to discuss all the current burn rates and so things. So, by the way, we are self-funded right now.
If I may add, you could just put maybe rough estimations, like as a pie, and to leave that link to more detailed budget. So, but still, I would appreciate as well. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, got it. Thank you.
And the other part that I was also missing was on the economic slide where you do the markets. I think it's somewhere before previous. Yeah. So this one, right?
Yep.
It would be super useful to understand how the actual business economics of this works, right? Like, for example, if there is user acquisition, that's X amount of your COGS, of your cost of doing goods, then you have your server cost, right? Like, just to understand what the margin of the business can be, because usually these kind of businesses, they start off in a heavy cost base, right? And then once you reach scale, you break even. But then in the free-to-play mobile space, at least, that break-even point, it's fine, but the margin remains actually quite low because you need to be reinvesting into user acquisition. So it could be useful to have things like this already like forecasted out or spelled out.
So you mean mostly our forecasts, yeah?
No, I mean just the calculation of how the business model works.
Okay.
So from, like for the first year, our cost base is going to be X, then our server costs are going to be Y.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
how all of that stacks together and where the break-even point is, right?
Okay.
Could we move to the next slide, please?
Yeah, sure.
Actually, in this slide, it's very good that you benchmark with other games and you give references. But what I like here, actually, and I would strongly recommend for you, you remember when I said that what investors are looking for, that you understand your target audience. So do your homework, and if you are putting some references, please also put the numbers of them as well, like, just to benchmark more clearly. And also, as for me, it's still not clear how you will position it yourself according to these games mentioned, and what will be your uniqueness, how you will, what you will do to be unique between those, and so that should be put as.
So selling about being unique, I think here is the point with the multiplayer and other stuff, because there is no game in the hybrid casual segment for now that has like multiplayer.
Maybe not unique, but why people should play your game, but not these or other similar games,
Okay, yeah, I see. It's a good point.
Yeah, and I will not comment on business issues. There are a lot of advices from business guys, but I want to bring your attention to these icons. For example, what we can see here, and here, and Archera is always had this. What is this? It's a character, probably, right? This one is nice, and girl here, and Doom character, and Archera guy is nice as well. But I have really big doubts in just
Okay,
all floating somewhere.
Actually, there's one of the points we already thinking about inside the team. So yeah, that's a thing we already thinking on. Yeah.
Was there a roadmap slide actually?
Yeah, it was kind of here. It's pretty simple. I mean, we are planning launch till the end of this year, and the next year we'll work on the next games. So yeah.
I don't know how for you, Alex. As for me, I would look maybe for more detailed, even maybe more details, more of milestones, more detailed, and even when you talk later about investment made into 2 chunks, I believe that investor probably would prefer to make it to.
It's not 2 chunks. I mean, I just mentioned that multiplayer is the most big one, but yeah, it's like I think 4 or 5 chunks. Sadly, I cannot show it right now, but yeah, there is like more detailed milestones, and I think it's more kind of closer to the tailored roadmap than on this slide. But yeah.
I think for the audience here, there is like a timeline at the bottom, and it says 2023 Q3, Q4, and then 2024 Q1. If I'm an investor and like I look at this, I go like, well, Q1 2024 is like tomorrow, basically. So you should always look for 2-3 years of planning, right? This is very short term. And looking at this, if I was like a VC fund, for example, I would go, yeah, my lawyer is on holiday until Q4 of this year, right? Like if you're dealing with European funds especially. So this is a very aggressive timeline.
Yeah, but actually it's kind of a bit controversial points. On one hand, you said that you want more detailed roadmap, but on the other hand, in the horizon of 3 years. So where's the balance point here?
Well, you need to make it digestible, yet you also need to build a blue sky scenario, because people who would be investing in you are looking at hundreds of pitches like this, right? And then they will usually make bets, essentially, right? That's what investors do. So they need to know that the 10 companies that they invest in have a blue sky scenario that is going to maybe get them to that $1 billion valuation, you know, because you want to find that unicorn. And if the fund that you are engaging with is not looking for that, well, then they're probably going to be a little bit too hands-on. So you want funds that have a diversified portfolio by default. And that you need to show that, hey, we're thinking really long-term. And what that also does for you is when you have a slide like this that has a long-term timeline, we did this with the investors that we ended up raising with, is we just, 3 months later, we go, hey, guys, here's an updated deck. Here's where we are now. If we get funding, tomorrow we'll accelerate. So we did that for quite some time, and then we eventually got the funding.
Yeah, we actually also had the similar experience of updating the decks and being in touch with investors all the time. So, but yeah, it's a great thing.
I'm being amazed how much Illia can, like, how well he functions under pressure, like with, you know, like cross comments and all that. So yeah, I'm amazed. We still have a bit of time for questions from the audience. So I don't know, like, do we continue grilling him or do you have a comment?
We have time for questions, so just if you want to ask something, you just come to the microphone.
We can grill him endlessly. It's just like if there is anything from the audience, anybody from the audience who want to help us grill him. Do we? So far we can continue then.
Oh, it's about time that you start cracking jokes.
But I'm so bad at jokes. It's like they're gonna all leave. So like, no. Good. So then let me ask the question, actually. So like, I mean, actually 3 of you. So like, when you see this presentation and like, I mean, you're thinking like, maybe we theoretically can invest into him and like, so what is the main risk that you see? Is it like his background or his team or like, yeah, like what is the main risk from your point?
So from my point of view, it's the segment is the biggest risk because there is not enough clarity in how these games make money, right? There is, because if we talk premium, because we mostly do premium games, right? We talk premium, we go, okay, X amount of sales means this much revenue, then you just calculate everything from there. The business risk here is mostly surrounding this hybrid casual, right? It's kind of like the metaverse, right? The meta casual. What's going to, and I think what was it like? Not hardcore, mid-core, something in between. Yes, hypercore. I was asking my tour fee, like, what the fuck is hypercore, right? So it feels like these abbreviations, right, that may put people off because they don't fully understand it. So maybe, you know, avoid more specific terms like hybrid, casual, because it's a segment, right? And you go there, that's 1.4 billion. That's actually very small.
Yeah, just because it's really growing. Because it's funny because it's, the plan was to kind of selling point because the hybrid casual. Let me just explain it in 2 words. Yeah, there was a hyper casual segment with just very simple mechanics and that's all. And hybrid casual, it's casual core but you have a lot of stuff in metagame to like just upgrade your stuff and do all this thing. And the hybrid casual is actually where players are going right now from the hyper casual. Yeah, so that's all these titles. They have very casual, hyper casual mechanic, but has a really big extended metagame. That's actually it. And with all this stuff, it really helps with the numbers of engagement, of retention of users.
My humble opinion was that the feedback was explain what you're doing in a way that investor understands you. If you have to, catch whatever Alex after that, well, this is what I meant, this is what this keyboard meant, like, well, then you failed. So that was the feedback. Vytautas, what would be your, what would you consider as the main risk, like, if you were to put your own money, well, your fund's money?
Actually, we wouldn't consider this case at all, sincerely, because our focus is a bit different. It's completely, we are focused on premium games. This is a free-to-play game. We are focused on PC and consoles. This is mobile game. Yeah. So we are looking for project investment more, I would say. This is equity more investment. So this is definitely our case. But my feedback was generally from the structure of the pitch, what I see, just and about the risks, I don't know. Actually, I would go more deeper into numbers. I would definitely ask for the demo to play myself, just to get the feeling of the game.
They have a booth. You can actually
so if I would consider, but on this case, I'm saying honestly, this is not just my case,
Great. So like a number of red flags, like hold all of them. Lyosha, so I mean, you don't invest usually, but what still? I mean, like you're looking at this probably. You have something to comment, like what would you consider the main risks as in that case?
Vytautas just said, the gameplay is the king. So show me the MVP, and if it's gonna be fun, then we will see what's will happen so later. Like after that, you can dive into numbers, into plans, into strategy and planning. But if the game is not fun, then well, what are we talking about? So yeah, I think I would start from playing the game. That's obviously the first step.
We still have a few minutes on that, but can I actually dive on it? Like, because I mean, you all mentioned that like the demo is very, very important, and like you mentioned the keyword fun. How do you measure fun? Is it like fun for you as whatever? Like I'm the money dude, and it's fun for me, but like the players hyper casual may have different preferences. So how do you, like, why is your fun, how does your fun relate to the target audience's fun?
I think that's a really tricky issue, but I'm sure that any person quite experienced in the game industry that's working in the game industry for like 10 years, 5 years, and successfully doing it, likes games and have these gut feelings about fun and gameplay.
Gut. So the measure of fun is the gut feeling.
Absolutely. It should personally catch you, and it should it should be fun. Definitely.
Okay.
You should enjoy it.
Yeah. Vytautas and Alex, do you have like additional thoughts on that? Like, how do you measure fun with the gut?
I mean, people talk about fun, especially like in these niche games. People go, "Oh, you just don't understand the casual games." I like, okay, I'm going to open up like I think it was when hyper casual was in Facebook, right? I just open up some shitty, little game and go, "Oh yeah, this is fun," and you get an ad, and you get another ad and go, "This monetization is great. What's your monetization plan?" "Oh, it's advertising." You're like, "Yeah, I'm not touching that." So it's. If you think about like some of these more like niche style games that you would call hyper casual or bullshit casual, whatever, it's really accessible games that are really easy to pick up, and that just so happen to have this really terrible monetization. But there is no, like, if you look at the biggest breakouts, like something like Flappy Bird, you would argue, yeah, hyper casual, right? I mean, right? Also, it's now an arcade machine in Las Vegas. It's this and that. It became a worldwide phenomenon. So just make really fun games, right? Don't lock yourself into like a specific niche, because even like a very simple mechanic, can turn into something like Vampire Survivors, right? If you think about, could be classified as one of these terminologies in an overly simplified way. Yeah, so survive IO, right? But it's like you're locking yourself into a very small market. And the reason I say this is because, well, me and Alexei here, we come from Flash games way, way, way back. And that was also about 1.5 billion market per year. That, you know, it was great for what it was very simple, but it was also very vulnerable. And most developers that went there did that because they didn't have the knowledge, the connections, the opportunity to go for PC and console. So we went to Flash because we had no other choice. So I'm just wondering, like, maybe not lock yourself in this opportunity and go like, okay, this is our entry point into a much bigger industry. But if I go like, oh, the maximum opportunity is 1.4 billion, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, I just want to comment that this is one of the things that I mentioned, that this market is considered only for the first game, and I made like a bit accent on in the beginning that we are not planning to release all the games only on mobile market, and we are planning to expand to further. But yeah, it's a valid point. Maybe I need to underline it somewhere here.
Vytautas, do you have the last drop? Because we're running out of
Yes.
time, but like, because you, I mean, you play games before you invest into them, right? So like your fun versus players' fun.
Exactly, that's why I mentioned, you know, references. Because as for me, I would definitely play those games if I haven't done that before, and would try to understand why it's fun to play these games and what makes these games to be fun to play, you know. And then would come back to Illia and ask why your game, it will also, why it will be fun, and if I have the same feeling, you know, there. It may not be polished or something, you know, but just to have that feeling, understanding.
Okay,
You know.
the feeling. Cool. So let's end this session with feeling, and I ask you all, I mean, maybe to stand and applaud Illia, because I mean, he was under this immense immersive pressure for all this time, and I think he did well. So thanks, Illia. Thanks, everybody.
Well, I think if someone has questions that drilled he want to be asked, so we have maybe 5 more minutes. But if not, so yeah.
I think we're down on the stage because like we're spread out. So like you can catch Illia like here, find them at the booth, play their game, and right?
Yeah, if you want to ask,
And
just
vote.
5 minutes. If
My plan failed.
not a big.
We have a question.
I'm sorry.
So, yeah, thanks for the brilliant panel, and I want to give a question for Alex and Vytautas, for investors. Alex mentioned that you struggled to find an investment for 5 years. As an opposite side right now, waiting or looking for investments to be made by yourself, what is the main struggle that you are seeing, or how many companies you have to evaluate until you make a good investment, and how this struggle could be made a little bit easier or even vanished by, I don't know, by the companies, by other partners and so forth?
I think the biggest issue with finding the right investments is making the right decisions when it comes to people, right? So you invest into people, and quite often, like, we'll see like great opportunity, we all love the project and whatnot, but there's no click with the team, and then usually just falls apart during negotiation. So I think it's about building that trust. Which is especially difficult with people you haven't worked with before yet. So that will be it, just making sure that the people you attempt to work with, that you have a good connection and a good level of trust.
Trust is crucial, I would agree. From daily, I would say, from daily activities, I would also stress the process. Because what I usually notice that guys are looking always for shortcut. They are attacking you on the different social media or other channels to reach you. But from the investor's perspective, I prefer to have more structured, let's say, processes to go through to make a decision more easily, more quickly, and my advice would be also to keep that in mind, you know. And if investor says, I would like to receive a pitch deck before the call, or the link to your current build, then please appreciate his time and do that instead of just trying to push for the call, you know.
Can I ask a small question also? You talked about pitch a lot. Half of the panel was about the pitching and commenting. Maybe there exists some people or companies that can consult and prepare a pitch for you that you can. I know that there is an article on tinyBuild's website about how to pitch the game, and there are also a lot of information about how to prepare it. But maybe there are some services that can really help you with it. So
there are agents that work with studios and help prepare the pitches and whatnot, and they usually take a percentage of the deal. I know our business development team likes working with them. I can't. I would rather talk to the person about the game itself.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.